Good morning, MLB Pro family. I'm Scott Gessford. I'm your GM of the Oakland Athletics, and today I'm with Jonathan from Pittsburgh. How are you today, Jonathan?
I'm great, Scott. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you doing this.
Good. Glad to have you on. So let's start off by looking at your 2022 season. I know you weren't competitive. You and I were fighting for a lower playoff or a seeding for a draft pick. But
Yeah.
so, how do you think your 2022 went?
About as expected, I reckon, although there's probably differing opinions on that, but um, it went about as I expected. I mean, I knew pretty early on after going into being the GM of the Pirates that we were going to go into a rebuild. And honestly, I feel really good about some of the prospects we got. So honestly, 2022 went, you know, as good or better than expected from that standpoint.
So, what were some of the highlights from 2022 from your side of it?
I was really happy with the trade we did with Detroit, um, trading Scalise and getting back Larkin and um,
Uh,
sorry,
Kloffenstein and G. Scott.
yeah, right. And honestly, I think the thing I'm most proud of from the moves we made in 22 was who we got rid of. Not that I felt it was dead weight as far as talent, but we were able to get rid of virtually every salary um, on the team and just kind of start from scratch. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I didn't feel very confident we'd be able to do it, but we did. And so that to me was probably the biggest success of 2022 for me.
Yeah, and like you said, it's important when you're rebuilding not to have those albatross contracts over your head. And you've got rid of them, but you've made a couple of splashes in free agency this offseason. Do you want to talk about those? Because I know some people might be scratching their head about appeal, but I think that was a brilliant move on your part.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I knew going into the off season that we were going to probably try to sign one big free agent just because we had ample salary space because again, we'd gotten rid of virtually everybody that was earning any kind of salary above minimum. And the team I was hoping was going to compete in 2024. And there was some really good talent out there in free agency. So I thought, let's get somebody now while we have the resources to do so. Give them a year to kind of go ahead and be some veteran leadership. And then hopefully it can kind of all grow together next season. We tried to make an offer on George Springer because I felt like we needed a middle of the lineup bat. It just did not work out. He just needed too much. I think he ended up going to Seattle. And we had made a couple offers on Appel early. Um, it didn't. We were close, but we were a little too far apart. I had kind of stepped away, and then later in free agency decided, well, he's still out there. He hasn't signed yet. Let's make one more offer. And fortunately, it was enough to get him. But yeah, I mean, the idea behind it was let's just go out. We needed a frontline starter. As much as I like Dustin May, I don't see him as a SP1. I think he slots in nicely behind Appel. He'll be our immediate number one. And then we have a couple prospects at AAA that are pretty much ready that we hope to bring up about mid-season to start filing in behind them. So hopefully by, late 2023 or certainly the start of 2024, we'll have a rotation that's competitive.
Awesome. Yes. So let's start. Let's look at the pitchers. You're just talking about them. So how do you see your rotation stacking up for this year? I know as I look at your screen right now, you have a six-man rotation scheduled right now. Is that going to be the plan for the start, or are you going to go back to five?
Probably going to go back to five. That's probably just for the spring to kind of figure out where everybody's going to slot. Because we also signed James Paxton to a smallish 1 year deal, I think 1.8 million. The hope is that he will perform well enough to put him at the back of the rotation and then potentially trade him at the deadline, depending on where the team is. I mean, I don't expect the team to be competitive this year, but you never know, I suppose. Uh, so Richard Dean is also there, who is certainly a very serviceable pitcher. I mean, he's not going to win any awards, but he's also not really going to hurt us. He's just a very average, middle of the road kind of veteran pitcher. And then Cronin is kind of the question mark. Cronin, the scouting is really good on him. We really like his ratings. He has not yet been able to find much statistical success. So he is kind of the question mark. We looked at trading him this off season. Just never really got an offer that kind of pushed us over the edge. So we're going to take 6 in the spring. Probably won't take 6 in the opening day. And just kind of see where the chips fall at the back end of the rotation.
So right now on your page, it has Appeal, then Dustin May, Brent Frazier, Cronin, Paxton, Dean. Is that the
Mhm.
kind of the way you see it right now, or like you said, is that just like a crapshoot? Because you got 3 righties at the top and 3 lefties at the bottom.
Yeah, honestly, I hadn't even looked at that part too closely yet. I guess I should have, but
It's a little
I
early.
definitely I definitely see 1 and 2 as that's going to be a Pale and May. Frazier and Cronin could swap if Cronin shows some success, so we could put a left-hander a little bit higher, in the rotation. And then Paxton and Dean are a total toss-up, just depending on how they perform in spring and the first part of the season. Dean could move into the bullpen. We actually had Chapman in the rotation until we signed Mark and Paxton. So we've already moved Chapman to the bullpen. Dean could end up there as well, or we could even end up, trying to swap him for a single prospect, here at the end of the spring, or if it comes down to it, maybe even have to DFA him. But we'll just see how guys perform early on.
Okay. So how do you see your bullpen stacking up?
Also, a little bit of a mix-up. I definitely see Bill Brown closing, and I definitely see Jonah Ryan setting up. Um, right now we have Helton as probably a 7th inning setup, but that's definitely to be determined. And the rest of the guys are just kind of thrown in there as middle relievers for right now. Cody Chapman, we have set as a long reliever since he was going to be in the rotation. We've moved him to the bullpen. Um, we DFA'd our lefty specialist to make room for the signings of Paxton and Mark. So, but we have 4 lefties in the bullpen right now. So I mean, I'm not too worried about having a lefty specialist. Plus, again, this year, seeing as we're not probably gonna, be pushing for an NL Central title, I'm not too worried about having a lefty specialist. Um, if we're doing really well early on, and I feel like somebody needs to be specific in that role, we can play with it. But yeah, it's mostly Brown and Ryan, and then we'll see where the rest of them kind of fall.
Okay. And then as I turn over to your hitters, you got 4 catchers on your 40-man roster. Or your
Yeah,
how's that going
yeah,
to work for you?
not the wisest move. Um, Still trying to figure that out too.
So how do you predict right now? I know we're not even into spring training yet, but how do you see your lineup coming together? Having the DH in the National League for the first time, that kind of helps a little bit, but you know, how do you see that happening? How do you see your lineup coming out?
So it's a little bit to be determined as well. I can tell you that at opening day, the plan is definitely Jonathan India at second. We traded with the Padres to get Yanez to play short because that was really a hole for us, both defensively and offensively. And so we have Yanez for a year with an option for next year. And so he's just kind of going to be a holding place because, one of our number 1 prospect is Hines at shortstop. And we plan for him to be up certainly probably this year. I mean, probably maybe by the All-Star break. So we just wanted somebody that could at least be a veteran in there. Outfield's a little shaky, but right now we're looking at probably Samuels in left field, Major League in center. I assume that's how you pronounce his name. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure.
Close enough to me.
And Mac in right field. First base, not really sure. Right now we're looking at Paredes, who played, I think, shortstop for us last, or he may play he played third for us last year. Um, he is we are lacking a leadoff hitter. We just don't have one. And he led off for us last year and did pretty well in that spot, even though he's not a prototypical leadoff hitter. So at the moment, we were trying to find a way to get him in the lineup to have him at least lead off for now. Abrams will probably become our leadoff hitter when he gets called up from AAA, which will also be sometime this year. But until then, there's a little bit of a hole there. And the catcher thing is really uncertain at the moment. Silva is the only veteran amongst them. He was our catcher last year. He could end up being our catcher again this year. But Barry Hill, we called up at the end of the year to kind of be our starting catcher, and he just never quite could hit. and we're going to kind of see how he hits in spring in the first part of the year. And honestly, Berry Hill and um, Cooper Johnson, they kind of mimic each other. They're very, very, very similar players, but our scout likes Berry Hill just a little bit more. And then Logan Driscoll was a Rule 5 pick, who had not made it above Double A, but I really liked some of the metrics that was coming out of him from Double A and High A in the Baltimore organization. And so we took a chance. So, just a Rule 5 pick. If we have to send him back, we will. But really wanted to see if he might be major league ready as well.
So is the plan maybe to trade one of them and see if you can get a prospect back, or
Potentially. I mean, right now, everybody's, well, obviously Driscoll couldn't be sent down. He's a Rule 5 pick, but Berry Hill and Johnson still have options. So if we need to send one or even both back down to AAA, we certainly can. Omar Silva, we had bounced a couple ideas around about trading and actually had DFA'd him at one point and brought him back. So he's I mean, honestly, his rusher spot's a little bit tentative, but
okay?
he's also the only veteran catcher we have, and so we've held on to him. At least at this point, we decided to hold on to him until spring as the veteran, just to kind of see, especially now that we've signed a big time starting pitcher, just to kind of see how all that matches up.
And then right now you have penciled in at Groshans at third base, who I like because he came from my team when I traded him to Miami, and you got him in Rule 5. So do you see him playing third base or first base? Because he can play both.
He can play both, but we actually right now see him starting at third, just because it's a little bit more of a skill position. And I thought we could probably find somebody just to plug in at first. Right now, we actually have Donald Taylor playing designated hitter, but he's also a first baseman. And so depending on how this whole Paredes thing goes at first and him leading off, etc., we might end up moving Donald Taylor back to first and then putting somebody else in a designated hitter. It's a little bit of a still trying to figure all that out, to be honest.
Okay, so what's your preference? Do you like to play great defense and okay hitting, or great hitting and or try to mash it up as best you can?
After my experience as being the GM of the White Sox, I have changed my philosophy on that a little bit. I used to, I think, put way too much weight in defense, probably to a fault, and it just never seemed to quite produce the results that I was hoping for. So I'm softening on that a little bit. I mean, I'm certainly not going to load up the team with this, error makers all over the field, especially at the certain skill positions like up the middle. Um, but at first and third, um, I'm I'm softening a little bit on how important the defense needs to be at those positions. But we are still hoping to be a very good defensive team. I think up the middle it certainly will be. But first base, I'm not putting too much weight into it at this point.
So were you around in the league when Dave was the GM of the Red Sox, who put like a first baseman at shortstop and all that kind of stuff to get their bats in the lineup? And he won a World Series that way.
I had to. Was that the same Dave? I had to have been because I've been in the league since the second year of its existence.
Okay, so
Um,
you were there. I think that's the year he won the World Series or something like that. It was crazy. So, um, so let's turn it to your pride and joy probably right now, your minor league system. Who are some of the key people you see maybe coming up and playing a prominent role this year? I know you've said this person may come up at some point, but do you see any of them making a big role this year?
so that's one of the things I'm most excited about is I feel like probably our best four prospects are all like AAA level right now. So they're all like right there banging at the gate, about to make their call up, two pitchers and two position hitters. And I anticipate all four of them making an impact. Of course, it's hard to say how big of an impact they'll make right away, but with Hines and Abrams on the offensive side, at shortstop and second, I think that both will certainly be a key part of, if we're going to contend in 2024, like I plan, their success is crucial. And on the same token, we have Kloffenstein and Graham as pitchers at AAA, and they both to me also look pretty much ready. So I'm hoping that Coffey and Graham can both come up this year and again plug right into the rotation. And again make an immediate impact for sure. So I anticipate by maybe not by all-star break all four being up, but I think by, not long thereafter, all four will be on the team. All four will be in the, starting rotation and starting lineup and trying to, show their worth.
And then you also have a G Scott who was an A plus ball last year, so he'll probably start off in Double A, would be my assumption.
Probably he has been a little bit slower coming along than we had hoped. So I'd already hoped that he's gonna be a little bit higher up in the system than that, but I didn't want to push him when he wasn't quite producing results. So we have been bringing him up a little bit slower. And the same with Larkin, honestly, who we got as a center fielder in that Scalise deal. Also has struggled a little bit at the minors. So we've been bringing him up a little bit slower as well.
And where do you see Wenzel, their first baseman, being able to make AAA this year and maybe the majors at some point?
Yeah, definitely AAA. I mean, he'll definitely be, I think, our AAA first baseman this season. Uh, I have looked at him numerous times as a potential for first base this season at the major league level. I am going to give Paredes, a chance there. Or, again, Donald Taylor could get moved there and we play somebody else at designated hitter. Or maybe, could he end up being Wenzel at designated hitter? We'll see. But he is being watched, let's just say. He's definitely on the radar as a potential major league call-up.
So what is your philosophy about your minor leagues? Are you I promote them like say one level each year to get them up to the majors, or do you go, hey, this guy's playing great right now in Double A, so I'm going to rush him or bring him up to Triple A and see how he does?
I am mostly the latter. I'm mostly going off statistics and performance. And if I think a guy's ready, I push him on up. Now it depends too if he's blocked by somebody else, and I don't want to create too much of a bottleneck. And I do keep an eye on age as well. I mean, if he's 20 years old and killing it at A ball, I might be a little more hesitant to go ahead and push him to Double A if I don't think, if I think it might be a little too early. If he's like, say he was just a college, draftee and he's only out of school for a year or something. Sorry, I didn't know the door was unlocked. Somebody was trying to walk in. Uh, but yeah, for the most part, it's performance based. So if a guy is showing that he's ready to go up another level, I push him up.
Okay, great. So we've pretty much covered your team so far. Let's talk about your scouting budget and your development budget. How do you say? I know since you're not really competing this year, you probably jack those at least development up a lot. But what is your normal stance? I mean, do you put a lot into development, a lot into scouting, or both? Or
So I did jack up development budget this year to the max, which is 30 million. And I told myself that no matter what happened, in free agency or in trade talks, that I would not budge off of that. So I'm very firm on our development budget this year being max. And I have our scouting budget at 20 million. I originally had it at 30 as well, but when we started having the negotiations with Mark and everything, I decided to go ahead and bump that down to about 10 million to give us a little extra cushion, so that signing him wouldn't completely strap us, and leave me unable to make any other moves as we saw fit, as the season starts to unravel. In Chicago, I was a little more middle of the road. But again, I'm trying to do things a little bit differently in Pittsburgh. Trying to do this rebuild, from the ground up and really pump into it. So really invested a ton of money into that and hoping it'll pay off. Well, that remains to be seen. I can't remember what the scouting budget was at before I pushed it up to 30. It might have been at 20, I think, last year. So it was still decently high. Whether that extra 10 million will make a difference, we'll see.
you still have 12 million left to spend on free agencies for this year. Are you planning on buying another free agent and maybe hope to trade them off at the deadline, or are you just going to sit there with that money and see what happens?
Yeah, my plan right. I don't have any other negotiations. Well, I take that back. I don't. The only negotiation I have going on is with one veteran player as a minor league contract with a major league option. For less than $2 million. if that gets signed, great. We'll see. And he might end up being the designated hitter. We'll see. But no, I'm not targeting any other actual major league free agents per se. Mostly I just wanted to have that money aside, in case a team came to us wanting to trade us a player with a salary and attach a prospect to it, that maybe we could take on another salary that way. Or if by some miracle we are competing in 2023, which again I did not anticipate, but you just never know, that it gives us a little room to maybe acquire another veteran player as the season goes on.
Okay, cool. So we've talked about 2023 for a little bit here and there, um, that you don't expect to compete, but you hope your prospects come up and contribute. So how do you see your division playing out? I know it's early. Do you want to make any predictions on how you think the division is going to come out this year?
I mean, it's hard to say that St. Louis isn't going to win the division, but I think that Cincinnati is going to be right there. So let me pull back up. Yeah, I mean the Brewers. I'll be honest, I have probably not paid enough attention to what the Brewers have done this offseason. I don't know if they've done a whole lot at all. Like, I'd have to go back and see who all they've signed and traded for. But I definitely see the Cardinals and the Reds really battling it out this season. If I'm not mistaken, this is also the first year of the what is it? They call it the balanced schedule. Is that right, or the unbalanced? I can't remember
Yes,
which
the
which is the
balance.
balanced, right?
Yeah.
So, that's going to make a difference as well. Um, so yeah, I see it coming down to the Cardinals and Reds probably, but obviously you can never count out the Brewers either because they've proven themselves to be formidable since Cole took over.
Okay, so is this the year that we see the National League win a World Series?
Who would it be? Arizona, I guess, would be the probably the leading candidate, but the Dodgers, showed how good they were last year.
The
Brenton is
Dodgers,
all the
the
way.
Dodgers
Sorry?
added Holton too.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
In Atlanta took Harper away from Arizona and brought him to Atlanta.
Yeah, and Brenton is always a wild card, right? I mean, you can no matter where he thinks his team is come opening day, Brenton's always going to find a way, if he chooses to make them one of the best teams in the league. He always seems to know exactly which button to push. So, however, I mean, I can never say the Angels are not going to win the World Series. It's just that simple. But I do think what I am very interested to see is what the designated hitter changes, because everybody's always laughed at the NL and said, "Oh, it's the National League, whatever." And it's going to be interesting to see how the stats change. I mean, obviously the offense has always been much more results driven in the American League, and I don't know that it'll be an immediate change. That part I am really interested to see, and how the ERAs change, of course, all that's gonna be really fascinating to watch.
I always thought the National League had an advantage when it came to the World Series because the pitchers hit. And
Right.
even if the pitcher doesn't hit a lot, they know how to bunt.
Yeah,
You move runners over.
and for the American League GMs or American League teams, they have to figure out which guy they're cutting out of their lineup, and figure out how to arrange guys to accommodate that. So I agree with you. It just does not seem to have worked. That
Yeah,
advantage, for
exactly.
whatever reason, has not cashed in.
So do you have a bold prediction for 2023? Doesn't have to be about the Pirates. It could be about any player or team.
Bold prediction. I'm looking here at everybody. How about, I don't know if this is really that bold. How about the Tigers win the AL Central? Is that even bold? I'm not even sure that's really bold. I mean, I think they probably expect to, or hope to, certainly anticipate or hope to. But
Kansas City's gotten better.
yeah, they have.
Minnesota's still there. As long as Minnesota has Copeland, they always seem to be a contender. So
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, in this Copeland's last year on his contract, and he
on
potentially
his
a free agent.
contract,
So
yep,
that's
he
really,
could
and that's
become a free
another
agent.
really interesting thing is, would the Twins trade him for the last 3 months?
Well, the Pirates had the prospects to get him, right?
Copeland? I mean, probably, but I would never do that.
So, uh, So at the end, I give people an opportunity to kind of introduce themselves, tell us who you are, what you do for a living. I can see it behind you in your picture, and maybe, do you have a trade block? I mean, do you want, or not, or how? Give us some more information about Jonathan.
Okay. Well, like I said, I joined the league. I can't remember exactly what year this was, but I joined the league the second year of its existence. Um, what is that? 11 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I think this is the 11th year.
Okay.
Or,
So around 2013, approximately, I joined the original White Sox GM quit right at the end of the regular season. And I was in a different uh, out of the park league. I honestly can't remember the name of it. And I'd been in it for 2 or 3 years, or in game seasons. But it was not a day by day league. It went much faster. And I was good friends with the GM or the commissioner there. He heard about this league. We both showed interest. I don't think he even applied. I applied and I had my choice between Chicago and San Diego. And my town I live in, Winston-Salem, is the home of the White Sox single A affiliate. And so I chose the White Sox solely based on that. Have regretted it ever since. but I mean, I've just had a blast in the league. It's, for the most part has been the only sim league of any kind I've been in. I am now and also in that college basketball league, the CJBL, which I really enjoy as well. But if on any given day, my energies first go to MLB Pro and second go there, based on time. But um otherwise, yeah, I run a record store. Let's see, I opened the record store in November of 2013. So I think I opened it shortly after joining the league. Um, yeah, so I run a record store in Winston, North Carolina. Huge personal Braves fan, although not super happy with some of the off-season things that have happened there. But um, yeah, there's not a whole lot of. I'm kind of a boring person. It's work and MLB Pro, and it's kind of
could
where
be
my
worse
energy.
things.
I'm sorry.
There could be worse things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, is there anybody or maybe you're looking for a position player or a pitcher or looking to trade somebody? Here's a chance to get it out there and let people know so they can reach out to you.
I'm a little bit quiet right now. I'm actually kind of just in stasis until spring training starts, I think. Not really looking to do much else. That's not to say I wouldn't swing a trade, but it'd be a pretty minor one at this point. I can't see myself trying to do anything major. Like I said, Omar Silva, our veteran catcher. I mean, if somebody came needing a veteran catcher and was interested, I'm sure I would swap them for a prospect. We have that little bit of a bottleneck at the back end of the rotation. If somebody's interested in one of those pitchers, at the back end of a rotation, that is a conversation we could probably have. We've talked about that I need a leadoff hitter, but I'm not honestly looking to pursue one right now because I think that Abrams will fill that hole when he gets called up, and I'm just kind of being patient waiting for that. And then we don't really have a bona fide first baseman, but again, I'm kind of since I'm putting less weight into the whole first base defense, and the guy I got there as an offensive is not a predictable first baseman at all. He's not a power hitter, he's more of who was that old Dodgers first baseman? Is it James Loney? He's more kind of a James Loney type. So honestly, not really involved in any trade talks right now, or even trying to initiate any too much.
Okay, so I want to end off with this question here, and that is last year, Detroit and Cincinnati seemed to be the teams that took a leap forward.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a team making that leap forward this year? And if you do, who might that be?
Are the Royals eligible for that topic? Or would that be considered a leap forward? What
I
was
don't
their
even.
Yeah, I can't remember what their record was last year. I would definitely think the Royals are going to take a huge step forward this season. Um, the Philly Rockies, the Rockies really shocked me last year with the moves they made and staying super competitive. So I mean, I guess you can't. They wait to the postseason, so you can't call that a leap forward.
Hmm.
The Giants for sure. I mean, Hines always is amazing at rebuilding organizations, and I'm sure
Don't give him a big head.
he's doing a great job there again. So I mean, I definitely think that they'll take another step forward. What I mean, I'm not saying that I think they'll be in the playoffs this year. I don't think they're quite there yet, but they are definitely. I mean, Hines went to a really bad situation there. That team was in really rough shape, and he's done a
So
great job.
so I just looked back, and Kansas City last year was 73 and 89. So they would consider to
Oh
be
yeah,
a
yeah. I
step
think
up
they're
for
going to take
sure.
a huge step forward, 100%.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Jonathan. I'm going to stop the recording, and we can stay on and chat for a couple minutes if you like.
No, this has been really fun, Scott. I appreciate you hosting all of these and involving me as well.
Good. Appreciate you coming on, Jonathan, and good luck to the Pirates in 2024. Right.
Thanks, Scott. Good luck to the A's.
Thanks.